Ensuring your family is at peace may be one of the deliverables for anyone who is a leader. And the Bible tells us that the father, husband, is a leader of the family. And they should aim at ensuring there is peace in the family. The only question is how. Because when the children are small and they become unruly, all you need to do is to pinch them, discipline them. But as become adults, they are still in your home. That method may not be the right method. It's not good at all. So how do you maintain peace in a family, even when the children have become adults? How do you maintain peace? I think the first thing is for you to be committed to peace. If it doesn't bother you that there is a lot of quarrels and disharmony in the home, then you're not investing. In fact, you may be the source of the disharmony that's happening in your family. But if you do not have a commitment to harmony and peace, then basically you are not really obeying the scriptures. It's in Psalms that the psalmist is saying how blessed it is for brothers to dwell together. So it needs to be obvious that it's not a good idea that a family is in disharmony. And that's the first thing that you need to be aware about, that harmony should be a desired thing. Because when a family is in harmony, you are sure that people will be more productive, because obviously they are not wasting time with arguments. Number two, there is going to be teamwork, which again would increase now not just personal productivity, but family or team productivity when there is harmony. And lastly, when there is harmony, people are going to be longer together than seeking for ways of going their separate ways. So you need to see the value of this harmony. That's the first thing you need to do. See the value of the harmony. But you need to also understand that it's not harmony at any cost. The New Testament, Jesus talking about the impact of people trusting in Him. He said, because of trusting in Jesus, you are likely to end up with problems with your relatives. A daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law will have a problem with each other. Because obviously, once the belief system is different, there may not be the kind of harmony you want. So, if that happens, then you need to respect the decision of the one who has decided to not follow your God, not obey. Once they are adult, if they are small, you cannot give a small child with freedom to choose whether to go to church or not to go to church. But with the adults, you may retain some speaking harmony, even if there will be a problem of how deep this harmony is if you don't have the same God or the same Bible to guide you. Because obviously it's not harmony at any cost. But even if you disagree, you can agree to disagree. So there will be still talking, you are still in talking terms. Because you see, even if you are the one who has the right information, how would that benefit you if you decide you do not want to talk to the person who has gotten lost? God could still use you to return him back to the fold. So you need to maintain some speaking harmony, even if the harmony will be certainly not pure good harmony, the way it would have been if your faith was actually the same. So I think it will be, so you must commit yourself to this harmony. But in addition to that, you must know that it's not harmony at any cost. And therefore, that's why I'm suggesting there may be levels of harmony. Harmony where people have the same faith. Harmony just because you come from the same family, which is a little lower than if you had actually not only from the same family, but also believing in the same God. And there is harmony because you are both human beings and you need to treat each other with dignity, irrespective of your disagreements. So it cannot be right at any level for you to be starting insulting and throwing tantrums against each other if you come from the same family, because you need to be people that are looking for ways of creating this harmony. Because like you have seen, if there is proper harmony, there is a possibility even the lost one could be brought back to the fold. In Deuteronomy chapter 25, we see various disharmonies and how they are sorted out. Verse 1 says, when people have a dispute, they are to take it out to court, and the judges will decide the case, acquitting the innocent and condemning the guilty. If the guilty person deserves to be beaten, the judge shall make them lie down and have them flogged in his presence with the number of lashes the crime deserves. But the judge must not impose more than 40 lashes. If the guilty party is flogged more than that, your fellow Israelites will be degraded in your eyes. So, how do you create harmony? By having a justice system where you know, instead of us fighting, why don't we go before? Do not take it out on yourself. Don't try to punish the erring party because you believe he's erring. Once they are adults, it will be important that you take them to a court. And when I say court, it doesn't have to be the state court. It can be that your grandfather is somebody reliable. It can be that your father is somebody reliable, and with somebody who doesn't show favoritism, who has justice. And all parties agree that the decision he makes is a reliable decision. Lack of judges who are fair and just will create a lot of disharmony. People know that if I do this, I'm likely to be taken to my father, and my father doesn't show favoritism. Then they will watch out what they do once they know there is a justice system. That's why as a parent, you must create this justice system where you do not show favoritism to any child. And that means instead of the children fighting among themselves, they will come to the mother or come to the father seeking justice. And in that case, the person who needs punishment will be punished, not by the sibling, but by the parent. The justice center will offer the punishment that is appropriate or the reward that is appropriate. That's really something that we need to talk about. So you can see clearly with the justice system, you need to there'll be greater possibility of harmony than if there is no justice. Because if you say, even if I tell Papa, he always favors the lastborn. Now, if that's what has been understood, then they'll fight it out because they don't think that there'll be peace, even if you go to Papa or whoever. So it's important that the leadership of this family or this clan refuse to be drawn to favor one against the other, because they know if they do, they have just created disharmony in their clan and disharmony in their family, which will not be a very useful thing. Even nationally, once the justice system is not reliable, you've just decided to create total disharmony in the country. The same thing with the clan, the same thing with the family, the same thing with the church. Once the pastor has favorites, has a kitchen cabinet, it will create disharmony in the church because they now can't take matters to the pastor because the pastor is not reliable. That's why the pastor cannot openly be partisan. He cannot support one political party against another openly, because the church has people from both political parties or the triple political parties that are fighting it out in an election. If you really become partisan, then two people disagreeing cannot bring the matter for reconciliation with you, because they know you already which side you belong to. And that's why it's good that voting is by secret ballot. So you will never know which side the pastor voted. And in the process, it means that he can continue being a reconciling force. And I think that will be something that is important as you seek. So the first way of dealing with disharmony is to ensure there is a justice system. So when people have disharmony, instead of fighting it out among themselves and damaging each other, they have a place they can go to and peacefully find a way of resorting out the matter. You know, verse 3 is telling the judge, however, the punishment, if you are talking about a family dispute, the punishment must be limited. That's why among the Israelites, they were told you cannot give lashes that go beyond 40. It is important that you do not, even if the person is guilty as charged, there needs to be an agreed system of punishment. It needs to not be arbitrary. You need this type of crime, should have this type of punishment, this type of crime, these are the type of crime, these are the punishment. It cannot be the maximum, the capital punishment for every crime. There needs to be a system that determines what punishment one can get. Verse 4 says, do not muzzle an oxen while it's treading out the grain. Justice and harmony requires that if somebody has done certain work, they are rewarded for it. You know, muzzling an oxen is pulling some equipment that is treading the grain in order to crush the grain, and you can't tell it to go throughout the whole day, and you have put a muzzle on the mouth so that it cannot eat the grain, and then you don't give it any grain. If really the oxen is doing the work for you, you must feed it. And I think that's part of the justice system that is required. You cannot have people in a meeting, in a family, where people do a lot of good work and you don't reward them. Yet when they do wrong, you punish them. You need to feed the people. I know when I was growing up, there used to be, when there had a piece of land to be dealt with, sometimes, and you are unable to do it on your own, you would call neighbors to come and help you to do it. But the owner of the home was required to cook enough food for the people that are helping him or her out. So it's important to not muzzle the oxen. That means you help. The same thing in a church. We as the people who attend the church should give of our money to ensure the pastor is accurately supplied. We cannot expect him not to go to work because he is looking after our spiritual welfare, and then we don't feed him. It will be important to feed him. You will have disharmony when you do not reward people or at least assist them who are working. Verse 5 says, if brothers are living together and one of them dies without a son, his widow must not marry outside the family. Her husband's brother shall take her and marry her and fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to her. The first son she bears shall carry on the name of the dead brother, so that his name will not be blotted out from Israel. What is fairness? What can create harmony is for you to care for one another. In other words, I know if I died, my relatives can look after my children if the children are small. My children are at peace because they don't just rely on me alone. They rely on the clan, on the siblings. That's really how Israel was created, that there was a way of caring for one another. Even if one brother died, the other brothers took while expected to take responsibility. Obviously, that can't work now, because here, the way you helped them is by marrying, or no, it's not quite a marriage. It's a kind of looking wife inheritance of your brother, which is not allowed by the New Testament, because the New Testament in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 39, you are told once your husband has died, you are free to marry anyone. The only requirement is not that he is your relatives, is that he belongs to God. So this idea, and that's why one of the things that was an issue. But in this one, remember, you have bought the wife, and the clan is the one that contributed to the purchase. It's called bride price. You paid it. So even if you die, the bride price is still working. So one of the clansmen, the sibling brothers, automatically takes over your wife without paying any more money, because it's paid for. That's why for us Christians, dowry doesn't make sense, because how do I buy a wife? Then I die and she can go and marry anybody else. What happens to my dowry? So it's important to understand here the main principle is simply caring for one another. There will be harmony when we do not exploit the people who are members of our team, members of our clan, members of our family, but instead are helpful to them. When you see a brother in trouble, you help him. When you see a sister in trouble, you help her. That gives them assurance that I will depend on another. We are interdependent. And therefore, we'll be looking for anything to help you, because I know you'll also help me when I'm in trouble. That will create harmony in your family when people become helpful to one another. And you will look interdependent. Nobody is depending on the other, because that's not encouraged. If you are a dependent, you will soon create disharmony, because, oh, so and so, you borrow, give me 20,000, I'll pay you next month, you don't pay. You got the other brother, give me 1,000 shillings, I'll pay you, don't pay. You become a dependent. That will create disharmony. But in the same way, independence, where you don't care what happens to anybody else, you just care about yourself, that's independence. It's also not going to create harmony. Harmony is created where it's interdependent. We help one another. We do not seek to be helped. We seek to help others. But in case we really have a problem, the others can also help us. So that's an important thing, and we need to deal with it. Now, verse 7 says, however, if a man does not want to marry his brother's wife, she shall go to the elders at the town gate and say, my husband's brother refuses to carry on his brother's name in Israel. He will not fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to me. Then the elders of his town shall summon him and talk to him. If he persists in saying, I do not want to marry her, his brother's widow shall go up to him in the presence of the elders, take off one of his sandals, spit in his face and say, this is what is done to the man who will not build up his brother's family line. That man's line shall be known in Israel as the family of the unsandaled. In other words, they are injunctions for not helping each other. And I don't know what, because that's not now relevant today. I don't know what kind of thing would be the injunctions when somebody becomes a dependent and is not willing or independent, either dependent or independent. What injunctions are needed in the team to ensure the team remains in harmony? There needs to be clear injunctions that does not reward anybody who refuses to be of help to others. And maybe the first time is not to take action, is for the leader of the family to talk to him and show him how not caring for others in the team is not right. But there may reach a time when you may have to have certain injunctions against him if you really want good out of that relationship. And remember, we are discussing how to create harmony in a team or in a family. Verse 11 says, if two men are fighting, and the wife of one of them comes to rescue her husband from his assailant, and she reaches out and seizes him by the private parts, you shall cut off her hand, show her no pity. It's interesting that this is a good woman. Why are you trying to kill her husband? So she comes and helps. But it sounds like in good harmony, even fighting must have rules. There are things you can do and things you cannot do. In a boxing ring, maybe the rule is you cannot hit below the belt. And it sounds like this is the rule that was true in Israel. You are allowed to help your husband, but don't go below the belt. So I think we need to have in the family to say, if somebody annoys you, this could happen, but it could not happen. Because obviously, people cannot live together and there will be nobody who annoys the other. Because some of the things is, I didn't know even what I'm doing is going to annoy you. And you get annoyed. What is it you can do and what is it you cannot do? Here the woman is being told you cannot go for the enemy's private parts. Because in the process you will crush them. That means the punishment is too much because he no longer can get children after that. That punishment is too much. So you in turn will be punished for what you have actually done. And it's terrible. Verse 12 is putting up terrible punishment. You shall cut off her hand. Show her no pity for that. So there are certain things, even if you are annoyed, you are not allowed to do. And each group must agree what those things are if you really want harmony in the group. What are those things that even if you are annoyed, you cannot do, you are not allowed to do? And if you do them, what kind of punishment will you get for having actually done them? I think that it will be important that is understood. These rules are true for you as a family, but it could be true for you as a football team. It could also be true for you as a church. It could be true of you as a Bible study group. It could be true of you as a group of friends. Whatever the group, these are wise rules. The rule of you cannot act angry and do evil beyond a certain level. Of course, you are annoyed that your husband is being beaten. You go working, but you need to control yourself. There are things you can do and things you cannot do, and it will be important that you are held as well. And you should know in advance that if you do certain things, there will be consequences. Although the reason you are doing them was good, like in this case, the woman is coming because the husband is in trouble. That's the Bible is not criticizing that. The reason for coming to it is only considering for why did you hit below the belt? Why did you go for the private part? And that's what you are being punished about. So it needs to be clear that in every dispute, there are things you can do and things you cannot do. And when that is there, you end up having harmony in a family because you know, I can do that, but I can't do this. I can do this, but I can't do this. That will create harmony in the home or in the team when people understand what those rules are. Verse 13 continues on the same line, saying, do not have two or differing weights in your bag, one heavy, one light. Do not have two differing measures in your house, one large, one small. You must have accurate and honest weights and measures so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. For the Lord your God detests anyone who does these things, anyone who deals dishonestly. So you will not have harmony when anybody is allowed to be dishonest. Why did you do it? You lie. Or do it something behind your team member's back. That has to be, dishonesty has to be removed. There cannot be harmony when we cannot trust each other. There is disharmony. And two examples that are given in this one is when you sell something to me and you tell me it is 2 kilograms, but you are using a weighing machine that is adjusted. So you are giving me 1.5 kilos and calling it 2 kilograms. That is having different measurements. It would be certainly wrong. The moment I discover that you actually what I paid for is not the value for which I gave you the money, I'll feel cheated, and there's no way we will have good harmony. When I feel my team member, my family member, my sibling is exploiting me and lying to me, and is actually not being honest in his dealings with me. So we need to understand clearly that dishonesty is not something that will help any relationship. And this harmony, it needs to be understood. And so you're good. Belonging to a team helps the whole team. So when you start creating disharmony in the team will suffer, but you will suffer with it. It's not in your interest to create disharmony. And that's why you do not, even if you sound clever, because I think the bigger temptation of these people who are unjust and who use differing weights is because they think they can get away with it. Oh, how will they discover? If I do this, it looks okay as it is. They will not know that this is not the right value. No. After all, so-and-so is not clever. That idea of thinking that you are cleverer than the rest of the team is what will motivate you to lie What you don't remember is what the verse is saying. Verse 16, for the Lord your God detests anyone who does these things, anyone who deals dishonestly. In other words, the person you're exploiting may not even be able to fight you, may not even do anything against you, but God will take you on, because it's him who is saying, I hate dishonesty. So you need to understand here, the person you're exploiting may be helpless. Maybe he's your weakest member of the family. But exploit them at the risk of facing God, who is his God, who created him. So you're not allowed to exploit your brother's family because your brother died and now the wife is weak and the children are young, and then you start exploiting them, taking away his land. God himself will deal with you. He's God of widows and orphans. So what is motivating you to have to exploit somebody within your team, within your church, within your Bible study? Whatever is exploiting you, please understand you are taking a risk, because God himself is going to deal with you in the way you have dealt with the matter. Then in verse 17 we read, remember what the Amalekites did to you along the way when you came out of Egypt. When you were weary and worn out, they met you on your journey and attacked all who were lagging behind. They had no fear of God. When the Lord your God gives you rest from all the enemies around you in the land he is giving you to possess as an inheritance, you shall blot out the enemy, the name of Amalek, from under heaven. Do not forget. Here are people who are connected. They are connected with Lot, the nephew of Abraham. And so they were not, the Israelites were not going to take their land as such. But they refused to cooperate. They wanted to pass, these people wanted to pass, but instead they looked for a way of fighting them and a way of getting them cast. And God is saying that was disharmony. In other words, this harmony is not harmony with the wrong people who are not right. You need to understand, like a management guru says, you must be sure you know who gets into the bus. There are people who need to be removed out of the bus. So for you to have harmony, there may come to a time when certain people may have to leave the bus so that the team can remain in harmony. And the Amalekites in this example are the people that had done things that made God say, get them out, take over their land, finish all of them, kill all of them. And even the ones who remain, when you are settled, deal with them. So you need to understand, to maintain harmony in your family, there may be certain people who need to be outside the family in order for the ones who remain to remain in harmony. But there has to have been a very serious matter for you to get somebody out of the group who is already in it. Because harmony, the whole idea about harmony is that nobody would leave. The whole idea about harmony is that so that everybody would benefit and everybody will be happy, everybody will be joyful, and you will be each other's keeper, what I'm calling interdependence, where we all care for one another. And because we care for one another, we will have a better quality of life than if each person operated strictly on their own. So, what is it creating disharmony in your team, in your family? Is it lack of justice? There's a lot of injustice in your team, therefore disharmony? Or is it that you do not reward even people who are actually treading hard for your sake? Or is it that you do not care for the weak in your family? You know, your brother dies and you don't care for his children. What is it that is creating disharmony? Maybe you need to ask yourself and play your role in restoring harmony within your team, within your family, so that honor and glory can go to God and peace can be in the family.